41 Action News.
Today we have some breaking news live from Florida.
Thanks, Chad! It has just been counted that the death toll is up to 78 people!
Thanks, Brad. And Chad, could you grab me a cup of joe?
Sure.
All around the world, people are wondering, what is causing storms of this magnitude? Unfortunately, there are no experts in this field available, except the one and only Lorax.
The storm was so bad because of rising temperatures and climate change.
What is climate change?
Climate change is the warming of the Earth caused by the greenhouse effect. The sun emits most types of radiation, but most that reaches the Earth is as visible light. Earth's atmosphere allows visible light in, but once it is re-emitted as infrared radiation, some gets trapped inside the atmosphere by greenhouse gases that are permeable to radiation of short wavelengths, but not to radiation with long wavelengths. This is why it's called the greenhouse effect.
Can you tell us more about these greenhouse gases?
There are three main gases that make up 97% of what we call greenhouse gases. The first is carbon dioxide. Humans produce much more CO2, mainly through burning fossil fuels, but also remove natural ways of removing CO2 from the atmosphere, like forests. Carbon dioxide represents 81% of all greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Methane is also a major contributor to the greenhouse effect. This is released into the atmosphere through leaking gas pipes, energy production, and raising livestock. Although methane remains in the atmosphere significantly shorter than carbon dioxide, per pound it impacts the environment 25 times more than carbon dioxide. Last but certainly not least is nitrous oxide. This is the least prevalent of the three major contributors, but it does the most damage. Nitrous oxide remains in the atmosphere for an average of 114 years, and 1 pound of N2O has the same impact on warming the atmosphere as 300 pounds of CO2.
What other problems have arisen from this so-called greenhouse effect?
Most plants and animals live in areas with very specific climate conditions, such as temperature and rainfall patterns that enable them to thrive. Any changes in the climate of an area can affect the plants and animals living there, as well as the makeup of the entire ecosystem. Plants require rain to grow and produce food for animals and humans. Changes in weather patterns caused by the greenhouse effect increase drought conditions that directly affect how plants grow and produce. Less productive plants mean fewer sources of food for all animal species. Acid rain enhanced by the trapped greenhouse gases poison water, affecting fish, plant, and animal life.
Tell me more.
Greenhouse gases cause global warming, which has a major effect on humans. First, global warming causes more intense storms. These storms can be extremely fatal, as seen in Florida with high death tolls, as Brad told us earlier. Beyond that, there can be other troubling effects. Decrease in crop yields, droughts, and dry conditions ripe for wildfires. Wildfires, in turn, lead to deforestation. Since trees absorb much of the excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, fewer trees mean higher levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, thus perpetuating the cycle in which warmer temperatures wreak atmospheric havoc. Increasing temperatures also cause an increase in global water temperature. Algae are sensitive to water temperature increases. When temperatures rise, algae die. Small fish depend on algae as a food source. Without an abundant supply of algae, small fish die or move to another location. Small fish are a direct source of food for larger fish. Thus, warming waters cause a ripple effect in the food chain, eventually leading to fewer fish and a reduction in food supply for humans. If we are too slow, global warming, our food supply would If we were too slow global warming, our food supply would be increased. If we were to slow global warming, our food supply would increase, thus increasing population sustainability.
So now that we know all this important info, what can we do to solve this problem?
I know what we shouldn't do. Make needs.
Everybody needs a need.
Making products like needs harms the environment and releases greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere due to the large factories needed to make them. Like needs, by decreasing the amount of unnecessary factories, we can reduce human emissions. But in all seriousness, the main way to reduce emissions is by issuing an increase in petroleum tax. The revenue from this tax on fuel is then used in a variety of ways, such as reducing income tax, funding energy efficiency programs, or into general revenue. Carbon taxes are designed to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions responsible for climate change. The idea is that by putting a price on pollution, people and companies can find their own low-cost ways to reduce emissions. The price also boosts demands for low-carbon alternatives, spurring innovation. To make the tax more acceptable, the government will make it revenue neutral. For example, a portion of income taxes will be cut while imposing the petroleum tax. Since everyone in the same tax bracket got the same cuts, those who create fewer emissions pay less carbon tax, providing a clear incentive to try and reduce emissions. Another way to reduce greenhouse gases is implementing nationwide laws to build more ecologically friendly buildings. We should require all new houses and buildings to install solar panels on their roof. This would help the individual as well as reducing the energy required to power the building, thus reducing the amount of fossil fuels burned. Using less nitrogen-based fertilizers will also help slow down climate change. Nitrous oxide has nearly 300 times the global warming potential compared to carbon dioxide. This means we need to drastically reduce the amount of nitrogen oxide emissions by using more organic-based fertilizers. To cause more agricultural companies and farmers to use less nitrogen-based fertilizers, the nitrogen-based fertilizers will no longer be legal, and new fertilizers based off more organic matter would replace the nitrogen oxide fertilizers.
Yes.
Using legume crops or pastures in the rotation of farming instead of nitrogen fertilizers is another way of slowing global warming. By using legume crops to fertilize soil or for agricultural use, nitrogen is released in the form of organic matter. Organic matter is released more slowly and is used more effectively when plants grow. All in all, by issuing carbon taxes such as a petroleum tax, implementing nationwide laws to build more ecologically friendly buildings, using less nitrogen-based fertilizers, and exchanging nitrogen fertilizers for legume pastures will most effectively increase population sustainability.
Thank you for all your insights, Mr. Lorax. I hope the world will implement these amazing solutions and hopefully decrease climate change.